All right, another edition of the Franklin Community High School Career Exploration Project. And we have with us today Mr. Bruce Foraker. Bruce, how are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Bruce is the lead program manager at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina.
That's right.
And I guess just start off kind of explain your role, what you do, and kind of how you got there.
Yeah. So my current role, I have oversight over all of our diabetes management programs that we offer across the United States. And what we're doing at Blue Cross, it's a new role actually for me. And diabetes has been identified at Blue Cross as one of the top conditions that we want to make an impact on nationally. And so we're developing a new strategy that we're implementing that is designed to take kind of the current healthcare system and turn it over a little bit, turn it on top of its head, and do things a lot different. And what I call it paying for things that work. So yeah, very, very simple idea, but it includes all the way from looking at how we can stop diabetes before it starts, and all the way to helping and how can we better manage people that have very complex cases of diabetes. And so that's really what the program's about. And we've been making a lot of great inroads in that area.
So as far as like the program manager, are you like the manager of the people who are doing the experimentations, or kind of how does that work?
Yeah. So my role is really from a strategic perspective to come up with the design and the ideas. And we do have people that are under me that will do a lot of the implementation work and the actual patient work. But more of my role is more of a strategic one than an operations one.
Okay, so it's like more of the business marketing, business management type.
Business and idea generation. We do a lot with the clinical data that's out there, analyzing all sorts of different initiatives and programs across the country and across the world, really, and looking to see what is really working out in the communities, what's been innovative. And then seeing how those can be implemented in the healthcare system here in the United States.
Okay. So as far as like as education or training to get to where your position, what kind of education and training have you had?
Sure. So my undergraduate, I have 2 degrees. I have a degree in economics as well as a degree in management are my 2. And I have a minor in English, which is kind of interesting.
Is that just because you had taken a bunch of classes and you're like, I'm 2 credits away, so I might as well take it and get it?
Quite honestly, it was because I really enjoy literature. And so what I took an extra heavy course load every semester, and I always try to throw at least one literature class in there as kind of a break for me. And then somewhere close to graduation, my advisor is like, you're like 2 credit hours away from a minor in English. And I'm like, let's do it. We'll figure out how to get those in there. But yeah, it was kind of something that I used as a sanity check. It was very different from every other class that I took. And
yeah.
I very much enjoyed doing that. And so it was really more for fun that I did. And I'm pretty frugal person by nature. And, so one of my goals when I was in college was to get the most bang for my college dollar. I know that's a little bit different than maybe a lot of people are going through college, but, so I was always trying to figure out how I can maximize my credit hours without paying more money for them. So
it's that econ major.
it was that economics major. I still use it today, and I used it back then for sure to try to get it. And so that's why I have that English minor.
So did you go on after your undergrad? Did you
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I actually have a master's in health administration as well as a master's in business administration to go on top of that.
Okay. So as far as being in healthcare and business and everything, what led you in this direction? Like what led you to this?
Yeah, so one of my real drives and one of the things I learned when I was going through my education was I really enjoyed behavioral economics, especially. And I looked at the healthcare industry as a whole as one that was kind of lacking in general economics principles, general management principles, as well as really interested in from a systematic perspective, but also just from how individuals utilize healthcare in the United States, and it doesn't always follow. When you look at healthcare in the United States, just from an individual perspective, we always don't do what's most best for our own health, right? Sometimes we kind of do what's worse for our health in many ways. And so why do people make the decisions that they do related to healthcare? Why does the healthcare system in the United States work the way it does? I really, that very much intrigued me. And I definitely wanted to get into the healthcare system and try to do use the skills that I've learned to see what we could do to change that.
Yeah, I think it's a business too that is always going to be there. So it's a solid industry to go into where you just know you've got all of the training and you're so well rounded with that, and you also know, hey, this is always going to be a need. So it's
true.
Yeah. So as far as your job, obviously you're very passionate about it. It's something that, combines a lot of different things that you like, minus maybe the literature. But I'm sure you get lots of like literature to read, but maybe not necessarily the novels or biographies or something that you like, but you still get stuff to read. So what are some of the best parts about your job? And what are some of the things you look at and you're just like, yeah, this is not my favorite thing to do?
Yeah. So what I love the most is the fact that what I do is about helping people, right? And looking for a way to drive care, change how care is delivered in a way that's going to benefit our members and people really across the United States. And quite honestly, we're hoping that those changes go to many other areas as we gain knowledge and information about how we can change behavior and change health systems. So the other thing that I really like about my job is really that very consistently, that's kind of a common goal of everybody that's in the healthcare field, no matter what they're doing. Everybody is extremely selfless and really looking for ways that they want to better society in some way, and doing so in a way that's caring for others. And so I get to work with a lot of very caring and compassionate people. And I will say that one of the things that really influences job satisfaction, no matter what type of job you have, is the type of people that you work with and who you're working with. Your coworkers can make a big difference on how happy you are at work and what you're doing. Even if you have the most meaningful work to do in the world, if it's draining, it's going to be very hard to keep on doing that. So having strong coworkers and caring coworkers is really something that I think is really important, and it is for me personally.
Yeah, it's and what about as far as like the negatives go?
Healthcare in general is very bureaucratic.
Mm.
Lots of rules, lots of regulations. It can be extremely frustrating, especially if you're someone like me and you're trying to figure out how you can make a change. And the whole healthcare system is designed not to change. That can be really hard. And, you have laws that are written against, trying new and different things, and for good reasons too. I mean, you need to do things in ways that are safe, but healthcare is very, very regulated, and it can be very challenging to get things done.
It's probably like one of those situations where you've run into before where you're like, well, I understand there's this red tape and it's great, but it's not really for me in this situation. It's for like someone else who's trying to skirt the system in a bad way. This is for me in a good way.
Yes. Yeah. You do have to be very, very careful, and because, one of the things I will say about healthcare is, even though there is a lot of red tape, healthcare is a ever evolving field. And so there are a lot of people within the industries that really, that's all they're doing is experimenting, and trying. So it is an industry where there's lots of pilots and tests, right, and a lot of scientific and analytical thinkers. So you can get enough people on your side, but sometimes it does take overcoming a lot of barriers before you can get there, which creates a lot of heated conversations.
I'm sure. So as far as the healthcare industry and, maybe the healthcare administration industry, what kind of person would be good for this role, and what kind of person may not be as successful in this position, in this field?
Yeah, I think that really, in order to be successful, you really do need to have a lot of passion for it, because you're going to have a lot of barriers to overcome, no matter what type of role you're in. You really, whatever your personal interests are, you need to always be grounded in, the why. Why are you going into the healthcare industry, whether that's from being a medical practitioner or from a more administrative side. You really need to ground yourself in the why you want to do it. And it has to be meaningful to you. It really has to be something that's calling you. One of the interesting things I'll say is that, before I did this, I kind of did some informal polling of different coworkers, and very few people that are in the healthcare industry actually thought they were going to be in the healthcare industry. They all kind of found their way there in very unique ways. And I do think it was kind of that passion to help people that was kind of the common theme, no matter what it is, whether they were nurses or, doing administrative roles. We have a lot of social workers that decided that the social work thing wasn't for them, but they still wanted to be involved in making a difference. So a lot of people find their ways into healthcare in a lot of different ways that they weren't necessarily anticipating when they started their career. As far as, people, that wouldn't be successful, again, I think that it's really all about, if you're you need to have that strong interest in the medical side of it, and really helping people be healthier.
Yeah. So really, first of all, I love the research before before doing this. I mean, that's next level right there. But second of all, you've got a bunch of people in there who wanted to help people, but were smart enough not to go into education, right?
Yeah. Actually, I will say that several people that when I went to graduate school, this definitely surprised several teachers were in my health administration graduate program. And from various roles, from being teachers to administrators and principals. But yeah, there were a lot of career changers in the healthcare that left the education. And I think probably for a lot of the reasons we talked about, they got into education because they want to make a difference and they want to really help people, but decided to move over in the healthcare and do that in a different way.
I was going to say going from like one bureaucracy to the other on that.
Both of them can be very bureaucratic entities. So yeah, so they definitely knew what they were getting into.
So how would someone go about preparing for a role in this industry? Whether that's classes they could take in high school or college or anything like that. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I think that the people that are successful, number one, are people that are able to think on their feet. In the healthcare industry, you are challenged at all times. You're working with a lot of very smart, very creative, very opinionated people. They will demand that you justify anything that comes out of your mouth. So you have to be ready for that. And you have to be ready to push back. So I do feel like classes that can help you think creatively and strategically and not get upset if someone pushes back on an idea are going to be very, very important. Things that allow you to figure out how to express yourself. So quite honestly, some of those writing classes have been a lot more valuable than I thought they would, because a lot of the work that I do is just writing. Because I have to justify, when you're talking about spending people's money, they don't let it go easily. Right. And we have whole arms of financial people that are, they love to say no. And so you have to really figure out how you can convince them to open up the purse strings. And so being a good writer can make all the difference in the world if you're seeking to implement new strategies, new programs, do something new or different. You really have to be persuasive.
Right. Okay. So last question for you here. General advice for high school students. You just think back 5 or 6 years ago to when Bruce Foraker was a high school senior.
Yeah, 5 years ago. I think that's about right.
Advice you would like to have received.
Yeah, I think that quite honestly, the thing to remember when you're young and you're going on those job interviews and all you want is to get that job and to nail that first job and start your path, and you just want that job, you can come across a little desperate. And what I will say is, and the thing that I find is that make sure that in those interviews, you learn how to advocate for yourself. No one else is going to be out there advocating for you other than you. And when you're interviewing, you be part of that interview process, meaning you're as much interviewing the company as the company is interviewing you. And ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions about what the work life is. They're going to take that as confidence and really want you on the team. If you're afraid to ask those questions about what it's like to work there, or because you're afraid of that you don't want to seem like you're trying to get out of doing work or whatever, it's like, oh, I work until 10 p.m. every night. Be willing to advocate yourself and put yourself out on a limb, because a lot of the other applicants that are going to be applying for those early job and the entry type jobs, they're not going to be willing to put themselves out there. Mm-hmm. They're going to be concerned about how it looks or whatever, but really think about what you want, and what you want to do. And make sure you're advocating for yourself in those interviews and telling your employer what it is that you want out of that job and what type of experiences you want. Don't be afraid to do that. And I think that will be seen as a positive in most cases. And quite honestly, if it's not seen as a positive, then that's probably a good thing too, because that might be an employer that you probably don't want to spend a lot of time with if they see that as a negative.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just advocating for yourself is so important, and getting that confidence and knowing what you want, and even more importantly, maybe what you don't want is
Yeah.
such a big thing. So,
Yeah.
all right, Bruce Foraker, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, the lead program manager at Blue Cross and Blue Shield in North Carolina. Is that for the whole state, or where is it specifically?
So we are for the state of North Carolina, but we have membership in all 50 states.
Okay. So once again, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time this evening, and yeah, thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate this project.
All right.